Welcome to WiseTake.com. This is CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And yes, we are bringing you another NBA DFS podcast. It is Thursday, March 16th, 2017. And it's a Westbrook slate. It's a Thursday slate. That means we got Fuego Steve on the pod with us. Steve, how you doing today?
Great. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. It's definitely an interesting slate. For those of you that don't know Steve, you could find him on Twitter at Fuego_Steve, just like you could see on the screen here. Steve is our short slate specialist, as we like to call him. He's got a seat coming up in the FanDuel Finals, Live Finals, that is in Miami. So we're going to talk. The show, we typically talk about DraftKings, but it's not necessarily a DraftKings show. It's an overall DFS show. So we need to get Steve warmed up for his final, and so he's been focusing a little bit more on FanDuel. So I'll talk a little bit about DraftKings, but Steve is going to talk to us about some FanDuel also. So for those of you who maybe feel like we don't talk about FanDuel enough, I think you guys will like this pod, right, Steve?
Yeah, sounds good. I've been past week or so just kind of focusing in a little bit, just kind of getting ready for next week's final. So we'll mix it up a little tonight.
Absolutely. We'll certainly be rooting for you, Steve. Anyway. Let's go over some injuries, and we're going to go position by position, and we're just going to talk about some of the guys that stand out to us on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Rodney Hood is questionable with a knee at Cleveland. Shelvin Mack questionable with an ankle at Cleveland. Derek Favors is expected to be out with a knee at Cleveland. Kyle Korver is questionable with a foot against Utah. Kevin Love is out with his knee, although he did practice. He's expected to be out against Utah. Damari Carroll is questionable with an ankle against Oklahoma City. Chandler Parsons is out for the season at Atlanta. Sean Kilpatrick is out with a hamstring against New York. KP6 is out. That's Kristaps Porzingis, of course, is out with a thigh contusion against Brooklyn. Gallinari, Daryl Arthur, and Wilson Chandler are all out for Denver, and Fareed is actually questionable with a back. So we got a lot of injury news there. It's going to be interesting. And guys, keep in mind, we're talking about this. It's currently Wednesday, about 11:02 on the East Coast. For me and Steve, they're both East Coast guys. So keep in mind that this stuff is subject to change. It very well can change, and most likely it will change. So as always, we recommend you pay very close attention, especially closer to lock. Whether you play the main slate, whether you play the Express, the Turbo, whatever it is, make sure you're available for that slate at least half an hour before lock to catch up on this news. Right, Steve?
Absolutely. Keep that. Today, 10 minutes of lock, they said Tony Parker was out. So if you were on Mills or if you weren't going to be on Mills, you had 10 minutes to decide. So absolutely be on top of it.
Speaking of Mills, I put him in my cash game because of the fact that it was late news. I figure it's late news. A lot of people, majority of the field, don't have time to monitor these things. So when you get late news, I always say late news is the best news, right?
Absolutely, and especially if it's a good value play, because a lot of these guys have their lineups locked and they're done. They put their lineup in, they've moved on. So you get a value play, and you want to move up on a different spot, and you're ready to go. So that's one thing I like about the short slates, because you get to know the slates, and if something like that hits, you're like, oh, you know what, I know who I want to play. So absolutely, pay attention. One shout out to Fantasy Labs NBA Twitter account. Follow them. They're great feed, and they're always on top of it.
Oh yeah, they're definitely awesome. So let's get started with some point guard talk here. We got Russell Westbrook. He's $13K on DraftKings. I'm sure he's ridiculously expensive on FanDuel also. And when I say ridiculous, I don't mean he's not worth it. He's totally worth it. It's just the fact that he's the most expensive player in all of DFS. That's the only reason I see that. But we got Westbrook, we got Curry, we got Chris Paul, Kyrie Irving. We got a bunch of good plays. Which guys stand out to you today, Steve?
Obviously, Russell Westbrook. He always stands out to me if he's on the slate, especially on the short slate. FanDuel, his last 68, 70, 59, 79, 48 with the dud of 48, if you can call it that, and then 83 before that. He's getting triple doubles in his sleep. I don't care about the matchup. I don't care if it's a tough matchup. I play him, and we talked about it before. He seems to be in half or more of winning GPP lineups. So if I'm firing 10 lineups, he's going to be in at least 5.
Absolutely. I'm definitely with you. And another thing about Westbrook, we just got done talking about the injuries. Already we see Denver is pleathered with plenty of injuries to cover the slate. So that's going to open up some value, and it's going to be something worth noting. And when we get to those positions, we'll talk about those players. But I definitely think I have to agree with you, Steve. Not only is Westbrook a good play, but it might not be as hard to play him as people may think.
That's right. And you mentioned Chris Paul. I'm not loving Curry just because he hasn't been hitting those ceilings that we would have liked with
Hmm.
Durant out. I do like Paul going up against Denver. I like Kyrie Irving for the high price guys. I think if any of those guys I wouldn't play Curry out of all of them.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I definitely do. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to recommend anybody completely fade Curry just because I don't have, other than the fact that he's been cold, I don't really have the matchup is prime. He's at home. But I'm with you. I think I'd rather play, especially on DraftKings with Chris Paul is 8-8 against Denver. I'd rather play Paul, even though it's the back end of a back to back in Denver. I'd rather play Kyrie at 7-9 on DraftKings against Utah. For one, Utah has been getting torched by point guards. Now Westbrook has involved in those numbers, so he did kind of inflate them. But even so, over the last week in general, Utah's been getting torched by point guards. Kyrie's got the discount, at least on FanDuel. I mean, on DraftKings, at 7-9, and believe it or not, this Utah total, is actually higher than Westbrook's total against Toronto. So I think you definitely made a solid point with Kyrie. I'm with you on that. What about Connolly? Alfred Payton, Derrick Rose, Schroeder Hill, any guys in those range, even Jeremy Lin, any of those guys stand out to you?
I always like Conley. For some reason, people don't play him, and I guess the whole Memphis thing. But when he's in an up-paced game, I like him. But Elf, man, it's hard to not play Elf going against Golden State. Even if he's just been on fire. The ceiling is there, and he's always in play recently.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, we talked about it a little bit before the show. Elf at 7,400, hey, he's a triple double threat. He's shown us that he can come close to Westbrook esque numbers when he's really on. He didn't just go for 72 the other day. He went for 50 just the other day. I'm talking DraftKings, of course. But either way, you make a great point with Elf, and I'm not really afraid to attack Golden State the way they've been playing lately.
Right, exactly. And yeah, so you mentioned it. He went 45, 33, 29, 65, 44 his last five on FanDuel. I mean, that's a floor of 30 and a ceiling of 65. So he's definitely in play at that price for sure. Still hanging around that 7,000 range.
I'm with you. We got Derrick Rose at 6,700. We got no Porzingis. So while Melo gets the huge usage bump, we'll talk about Melo later. Rose definitely gets a little bump himself, and he's a guy that's Ron Baker's his backup and Chasen Randall. Neither of those guys are particularly NBA ready, so they've been kind of riding Rose out. I think it's because they pretty much know they probably only have him the rest of the year. I think Rose appreciates he gets a chance to show what he can do going into free agency, and also the Knicks don't have to they have to burn anybody out. Just why not ride the guy till his wheels fall off, right? What do you think about Rose against Jeremy Lin in a rematch of a couple days ago?
Yeah, I like him. He's always GPP play for me. But on FanDuel, I might actually go down to the guy you just mentioned, Jeremy Lin. And his price is creeping up on DraftKings. I know that. And he's got that minutes, but he's points per minutes has been great. And on FanDuel, he's got close. I think he's got 28. He's got 34 points last time, 25, 30, 29. So at 5,900 on FanDuel, I like Jeremy Lin actually a little bit more than Rose.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with you on that, especially when you consider Kirkpatrick is out. So even though Lynn is somewhat on a restriction, number one, pay attention. They may lift that restriction with Lynn out. Number two, remember there is a little bit of narrative here. Lynn's sanity was started in the Garden. So yeah,
That's
they
right.
played the Knicks in Brooklyn recently, but this is different. This is back in the Garden where Lynn kind of made the name for himself. So I'm with you 100% on Jeremy Lin. I wouldn't necessarily trust him in cash, but in GPPs, I definitely think he's an option.
Exactly. I pair him up with Westbrook here. On FanDuel, you go the high end Westbrook, low end Lynn is not a bad play.
Absolutely, and there's some interesting value. We got Jamal Murray, who's shooting guard eligible on DraftKings, but even so, he's at 4,900. We've got Corey Joseph, also shooting guard eligible. He's got a great matchup with Westbrook. He's 4,800. Jameer Nelson's only 4K. Austin Rivers 3.7, but I think on FanDuel he's probably only shooting guard. Austin Rivers.
Yes, but you did mention Murray. you know, um, Oh, you know what? Austin Rivers is point guard now on FanDuel,
Oh wow, no
actually.
kidding.
Oh no, he was. He's always been, I think. Yeah.
Oh
So
okay.
4,400. Murray at 4,000. We do this pod the 11 o'clock the night before. Always do research on the value point guards because they're going to touch the ball. You mentioned Murray at 4,000 on FanDuel. Last time he went for 30. He went for 20. 20. If he gets you 20, you can survive at 4,000. If he gets you 30, that's great. So definitely watch who's going to be in, who's going to be out, see who you think's going to get the minutes. And with Westbrook on the slate, always great idea on FanDuel to pair him up, or on DraftKings with Rivers, who you can put a slot in at shooting guard or something. Always a good idea.
Absolutely. Another guy I'll mention real quick is Darren Williams. He's playing one of his old teams. He's 3,600. He hasn't been getting minutes, but even though he's still been producing, so at his price, he's 36 on DraftKings. You know how much he is on FanDuel by any chance?
4,200.
So maybe more so on DraftKings at a 3,600, just because his minutes aren't quite up there. But he's definitely somebody to keep his eye on. He's got a little bit of narrative, so for tournaments, he could help out a little bit when you're trying to afford Westbrook, right?
Exactly. And FanDuel, I may not go there because of some of the value, but DraftKings definitely.
Absolutely. Is there any other point guards you wanted to mention before we move on?
I think we're good.
All right, so shooting guard DeMar DeRozan, we've got he's 8-3 on DraftKings, and I believe he finally came down from that 10K price on FanDuel, right?
Yeah, he's down to 9,300 on FanDuel. We've seen his ceiling, but he has not been tearing it up recently. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely not been the consistent DeRozan that he was earlier in the season, despite Lowry being out. And they also have Ibaka now, so it's not just DeRozan. They do have Ibaka, who's also an interesting on the defensive end and scoring. And not to mention, Ibaka has the narrative playing against Oklahoma City. I think DeRozan's certainly in play in tournaments, more so on DraftKings. He's more affordable there. But then again, on FanDuel, you have to play two. And there is a very big disparity between DeRozan and the next closest shooting guard, which is Klay Thompson. What do you think about Klay Thompson? He's 7K, I think, on both sides, and he's got a matchup with Orlando. He's been the splash brother that's been playing well. He's been doing his job. What do you think about Klay?
I like Klay. His last 3 out on FanDuel, 30 points, 40 points, and 37. And to me, I think that's going to be his floor tomorrow. At least that's the feeling I have. He can get you that 50 when he gets hot. So at 7,000 compared to, say, DeRozan's 9,300 on FanDuel, 2,300 less, I like him a lot tomorrow.
I'm with you. I think he has similar, if not more, upside, and he's significantly cheaper, so I definitely can appreciate that. Victor Oladipo is on the other end of DeRozan. He's 6,500. Shooting guards have been torching DeRozan. We saw Curry play pretty well against them. Stephen Curry, that is. Seth Curry, that is. And right, one of the Currys. But we've seen him torch DeRozan. So shooting guards in general have been having success against DeRozan. So we got Oladipo. We got Gary Harris, who's typically a pretty good cash option every night due to the minutes he plays. We got Evan Fournier, who is very up and down, but he has shown us that once in a while he could pop out some pretty good upside. And then we got Will Barton, who I think he may have to start with Chandler Gallinari out. He's the only guy. So any of those guys stick out to you, if not all of them?
Yeah, all of them, really. Yeah. I like Oladipo for sure. Harris, like you said, always gets the minutes, so he's a good play. But the guy you did not mention, who's even a little bit lower, is LaVertical. He's 4,400 on FanDuel, and he has been playing well. And I think we talked earlier about him not just getting the points, he's been getting some rebounds, getting some assists, some steals. So he's kind of filling out all the categories, which for a shooting guard doesn't happen.
Oh, looks like we just you cut out on us just a little bit there. Hopefully we get this connection back. Bear with us.
You lose me?
Yep. I think we got you back, though. It's all good. I checked the audio. We're good this time. All right, good. We're good to keep going. So the last thing I heard you say, you were talking about LaVertical and about how he's not just a scoring threat, but he does get rebounds, etc. So go ahead and continue. Tell us about LaVertical.
Yeah, exactly. So he's filling up some of the other categories that we don't always get from shooting guards. So all those shooting guards you mentioned, I like. Oladipo, Fournier, Barton, Harris, all of them.
Oh, we just lost you again, I think, there. Give us a second here. Just lost you again, Steve. Give us a sec. Wait for Steve. There you go. Okay. Well, there we are. Okay, we got you again. Yeah, we lost you again, but it's okay because I keep checking the audio this time. So I'm making sure that we're not. All right, you can continue.
I like LeVert, basically.
I like it.
Yeah, exactly. He built up the other categories that we like from shooting guard that don't always do. So I like him.
I'm with you. Now, he's shooting guard only, I think, on FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's small forward only. That's the only reason I didn't mention him. But I'm with you, especially
Oh,
with Kilpatrick out. They're going to need him to kind of step it up, at least, especially for that second unit, whether he starts or not. They're going to need somebody to take Kilpatrick's role. And I think LaVertical is the next closest guy that could do it. They want to see what the kid has. He just played well against New York the other day in limited minutes. So I'm with you. He's DraftKings is even cheaper. He's 4K. So I'm definitely with you on the vertical. We got Hardaway, Courtney Lee. On DraftKings, you can play Corey Joseph and Murray, which I think is very interesting, especially Corey Joseph against Westbrook. We got Norman Powell. Andre Iguodala, there's somebody I want to ask you about. Now, this is somebody that Steve had actually asked me about earlier when we spoke. Steve asked if I would go back to the train because we talked, and I think we both had shares of him on Monday when he dudded on us, right?
right.
And Steve was basically asking, would you go back to that well? And I was saying I think I would, just because I don't think anybody else will. What do you think about that, Steve?
Yeah, so I think he's small forward on FanDuel, but yeah, I would be willing to do it. Anytime a player burns people, they're not willing to go back, and like I'm not even sure I am at this point. Like speaking right now, I'm not sure I would. But do your research and don't let that get in the way of playing a player because if 50% or 40% of people played him the last time, he threw up a dud. Now only 10%, but he's still in a good matchup. Well, that's positive for you. So don't be afraid to go back to those guys. I'll do some more research tomorrow and let you know my final answer.
Awesome. Any other shooting guards you want to talk about before we move on here?
No, I think we're good.
Awesome. All right, moving on to small forward, we got LeBron James. Obviously, I'm sure everybody likes LeBron. He's got a matchup with Gordon Hayward. I think it's safe to say that we both like LeBron, right, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. Careful in the GPBs though, just because his ceiling may be capped. But yeah, it's hard on a short slate not to like him.
Absolutely. Now, Carmelo Anthony is my cash game lock for tomorrow, just because we've seen the shots that he's willing to take without Porzingis. His shot attempts have been down a little, but we saw him with a couple nice games, especially against Paul George when Porzingis went down. So I think it's a spot. From DraftKings, you can play him on power forward. On FanDuel, you got to play two small forwards. So I have a feeling on FanDuel, Melo might be pretty popular. I could see people choosing to play him with maybe like a cheaper option or so. What do you think about Melo tomorrow?
Oh, I like him a lot. Definitely with Porzingis out. I like Hayward. Anthony's 8,400 or 8,400 on FanDuel. Hayward 7,800, and then you got Chandler who's out, Gallinari's out, and drop down to Iguodala. So
right,
Hayward, Anthony, James, combination of those three are going to be in my lineups for sure.
Absolutely, I'm definitely with you. I like Hayward a lot. He's 69 on DraftKings and targeting guys against Cleveland. Remember, I think I said it earlier, but the total in the Cleveland Utah game, it's pretty high for a Utah game. It's like 210, and Cleveland plays pretty good at home. I don't see Gordon Hayward stopping LeBron, but at the same time, I don't necessarily know if LeBron's going to stop Hayward either. So I think you make a great point with Hayward. We talked about Gallinari and Chandler both being out. I think that opens up things for Will Barton. I really like Barton. The matchup might not be the greatest on paper, but remember, the Clippers are playing on the back end of a back-to-back, and they're playing in Denver. So if there's ever a time to take advantage of poor Clippers defense, it's going to be here in this spot. And if Barton gets the start, you know he's going to get at least 32, 33 minutes at least. And he's a guy that likes to chuck when he's on the court. Any other small forwards? Well, first of all, tell me what you think of Barton. Second of all, any other small forwards that stand out maybe a little in the cheaper tier?
I do like Barton on DraftKings. He's shooting guard on FanDuel, so I tend to play Harris more. But I like Barton's upside for sure, especially since you can play him at small forward on DraftKings. But I think you're going to ask if I like someone else. Brandon Hollis Jefferson. He's been playing well. People don't like to play people from Brooklyn, which I get. But their prices are always right, and they always seem to be popping into my lineup here and there. I think he had 18 last time, but before that he had 28, 11, 12, 27, 31. He's a GPP play. But I don't mind at 4,400. He doesn't take much to pay off.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Is there anybody else before we move on?
I wouldn't be afraid to go down to Terrence Ross again, at least on FanDuel, $4,100. He has been disappointing everyone recently, but he's still getting those minutes. So if you're a risk taker, which one lineup, I'm not saying put Terrence Ross in your lineup, but if you're doing multiple lineups, minutes are the key in the NBA, and if he's getting the minutes again, I wouldn't be afraid to go back to him. And that's another guy who's burned people. So yeah, if you're a risk taker, go for it.
So basically, what you're saying is the perfect stack tomorrow is Iguodala and Terrence Ross.
Right.
Yeah, right. Right. Anyway, let's move on to power forward. Now on FanDuel, you have the privilege of playing the Joker at power forward. You can't do that on DraftKings. On DraftKings, he's center only. Tell us about the Joker. What you think about the Joker?
I love him. He's probably gonna be super highly owned on FanDuel for sure. But he's hard not to play. You got two guys out there on the front line, and we've all seen his ceiling. So I think I might have a man crush on Joker.
Hey, I've been had a man crush on Joker, man. There's no shame in that, man. The guy is just awesome. And you know what? It's a close game, a high total, and he might not be as popular as we think. I happen to think he will be popular, but I always think he's popular, and people just don't play him. And now we got Westbrook, we got LeBron, we got so many other guys that people may choose to pay for. So I'm hoping he's not, but I would I would have to think. I mean, after all this time, then again, he did just burn everybody in a dream matchup against the Lakers, putting up 35 or less fantasy points. So who knows? Maybe he will be a little unknown. I'm playing him for sure, though.
That's true. And speaking of power forward on now some of these guys, I think Draymond Green and Griffin are center eligible in DraftKings.
You're right.
Go down to 1,000 more less is Griffin, then 1,000 even more is Green. So people, I'm hoping will stay away and go for the cheaper guys. Maybe hope they can get there. Who I like all of them actually on FanDuel. I like all three of them.
Oh yeah, we're looking at Blake Griffin. You could put on DraftKings. You could play Melo at power forward if you want. Draymond Green, Paul Millsap. We got some interesting power forwards, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I love paying up for power forward when you can. So maybe some of the guys we talked about value at the maybe point guard or shooting guards or even the small forwards, we can pay up here for our power forwards.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I'm looking at, Draymond Green is interesting. Now, we saw Draymond Green play a lot of 5 against Philly. He played a lot of 5, and I think that was a big reason his upside was so large because Philly is so bad against centers. We don't know if that's going to be the case. Number one, they got Aaron Gordon, who Draymond Green's going to have to cover at times. And two, they have a big-time center. It's Vooch. He's a big guy. He's a big scorer. So they may need Zaza and JaVale McGee in there to play some defense. What do you think of Draymond Green?
I still like him for his ceiling. He's another guy I seem to not get right all the time. Like we just said, he's 2,000 less than Joker and 1,000 less than Griffin on FanDuel. So he's got probably the same upside. So I like him. I don't mind. I think he can handle it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It's funny. The other day in this matchup, I mentioned I didn't play a lot of lineups that day, but I only played a few. So I did mention on the podcast that Draymond Green was my favorite Golden State Warrior on the night. I didn't even play him in one. Could you believe that? He goes for 60 plus, and I recommend him on the pod. I don't even play him. I crushed him.
Oh man, that's the worst. Yeah, I think last week we recommended some people, and I looked down and we were on fire, and I'm like, wait, how come only half of them are in my lineup?
Yeah, right, exactly. Sometimes we got to listen to ourselves a little more.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we talked about Green. Paul Millsap, 71. He's somebody you asked me about before the show. I like him. I like targeting power forwards against Memphis, especially in a situation where Gasol is going to be busy. If Gasol even plays, it is the back end of a back-to-back. He's going to be busy with Howard. So you got JaMychal Green. You got maybe Zebo possibly. But either way, I think Millsap is in a crush spot. So tell me what your thoughts are on Millsap. I would assume you like him, as soon as you asked me about him earlier.
Yeah, I do. He is definitely a typical cash play. I don't play cash, but from what I've heard and from what I can read his stats, he is the guy. But I like him for GPPs too. We talked a little bit before about ceiling. We don't need him to get 60, but if he gets 40 at 7.6 on FanDuel, I will take that.
Yeah.
So let's say he gets 40 and Green gets 40 and Griffin gets 40, but he's cheaper than all them. Well, you know what? You just can spend that money elsewhere. So if you think he's gonna, if you think the other guys aren't gonna hit their ceilings or they're gonna do less, I always like playing Millsap and just knowing he's probably not gonna get to that 60, but more often than not he'll get me that 40.
Yeah, that's a great point. And even tonight on the Wednesday slate, we just saw that happen. Kawhi Leonard, I think, ended with like 62 DraftKings points. And you're probably thinking, oh, wow, he was a fantastic play. Well, Paul George, who was significantly cheaper, got 57. So you got to really think, who was the better play there? Yeah, okay, Kawhi Leonard scored 5 more actual DraftKings points. But you saved a lot of money if you went with Paul George. And that could have allowed you to pay up somewhere else. So that's a great point you make about how sometimes if a guy can come close to a ceiling of another guy, but the price is significantly different, it could really help balance out. That's a great point you made, Steve.
Exactly.
Any other power forwards? We got Aaron Gordon, we got Zebo, we got Booker, Taj Gibson. Anybody else stand out to you?
I like Ibaka going against former team. I like Randolph. I always like Randolph. No one ever seems to play him. His price never moves. He's a GPP play, but I like Randolph. And Canner is listed as a power forward on FanDuel.
Right.
I like him going up against Toronto. So there's some good guys in these prices, and if you want to even go lower, you got Booker on Brooklyn, who another guy who's not going to just super high ceiling, but at 5,000, will hit value for you.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm definitely with you on the Ibaka call, especially. I think there's some extra narrative there. I don't know if I trust him in cash just because he hasn't been very consistent, but in GPPs, we make quite the point. He's going to be playing hard. He's on a new team that's a playoff team, and he's going to want to show Oklahoma City that he they should have made an effort to sign him. So I'm with you on Ibaka. One guy I got to mention. We don't know the status of Kenneth Faried. If he's out, I would assume Juancho Hernan-Gomez jumps right into the starting lineup. He's 3,900, so DraftKings and FanDuel. I'm assuming he's cheap on FanDuel. They didn't catch up to the injury news on this one. So what do you think of Hernan-Gomez? Is he a lock and load for you? If he starts?
He's almost min price on FanDuel. He's 3,600.
Oh, yeah.
I love playing those guys, and we talked a minute ago about paying up for power forward. This is the situation. If we know he's going to get the minutes, which with injured guys, you have a much more, idea whether he will or not. Then I would definitely pay down, and you throw him in your lineup. You could put him and the Joker, on FanDuel, which is one thing I recommend: playing two players at the same position on the same team on FanDuel. People don't like to do it.
Right.
You'll see shooting guards. Like I'm thinking of Matthews and Curry for some reason I've seen in a lineup. Now, this is short slate usually, but people don't like to put guys from the same team in the same position on FanDuel. It's something that I don't mind doing.
It makes perfect sense. A lot of people are uncomfortable because they just feel like, hey, if this guy's making all the shots, then this guy won't. But, hey, you know what? Sometimes what if that guy gives that guy an assist? What if that guy is, feeding him the ball? What if they're subbing in for each other and the position is just hot? You're absolutely right. A lot of guys don't like to do that. And it's good to hear that some people out there are taking advantage of that.
Yeah, and check out the team because all teams are different. Some guys you never want to play a shooting guard and this and that, but okay, well, are they in the game at the same time? If they're in the same, and he plays center, when he plays power forward, and he plays small forward, and he plays center, actually, they're not always right. So look into it, and especially when there's value there, because even if the guy's value only getting 20 minutes, but he's going to hit 25 points, it can be done for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else for more on a center here?
No, I think it's good.
All right, so we talked about the Jokic. I love the Jokic. You love the Jokic. The Joker. I love the Joker. You love the Joker. He's center only on DraftKings. We talked about Blake. I think we both did. We talk about Blake? I think we talked about Blake a little bit, right? We mentioned him.
I do like Griffin. Yeah, if we didn't, I do like him, but I may go. But he's power forward on FanDuel, yeah.
Right, exactly. So I think Blake's in play more so on DraftKings just because he's 82 on DraftKings. He's still in the 9s on FanDuel, right?
He's 9.5, but he's in between Draymond Green and Joker. So
yeah, I'd rather pay for Joker at that point, I think, on FanDuel, right?
Right, yeah, or go down to Green maybe.
Or even go down to Green, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of in that no man's land.
Right. So we have Gasol, assuming he plays. He's 7-3 on DraftKings. Obviously, he's a center on both sides. We got Vooch, who's an interesting matchup with Golden State. Gobert against Cleveland's interesting. Brolo with a rematch against New York. He did pretty good last time. Of course, we got DeAndre Jordan, not Juancho. His brother, Juancho's brother. Willie. Yeah. We like to call him, here in New York, we call him Willie. Willie Hernan-Gomez at 6'2" on DraftKings. Tell me which one of these centers pop out. Is there anybody that maybe pops out on FanDuel specifically to you?
I just noticed this earlier. Vuk, Gobert, Jordan, Gasol, all 7,700 on FanDuel, all the
That's
exact same
wild.
price.
That's wild.
So you're gonna have to make a decision, and then you go down to Lopez at 7,000, who I do like. I always like Lopez,
Hmm.
and then Howard at 6,900. So you got six centers all kind of bunched within $800 here. Um, so I kind of like I like Vuk. I like Jordan against Denver. Gasol. It'll be interesting. Pay attention. Make sure he plays.
Hmm.
But Lopez, his value, his price never changes. He's he always seems to fit into my lineup sometimes. I'll be making my lineup. If I start a point guard and work my way down and be like, oh, I got $7,000. I guess I'm playing Lopez. So
Yeah.
I don't mind him.
Yeah, it's funny. He's one of those players that he's never your first guy. Oh, yeah, I'm going to play Rolo. But then when you're left with him, you're not all that worried. You're kind of like, okay, that's a good 30 to 40 right there, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, well, it's not a guy who's not going to blow it up, but he's always going to get his.
Right, exactly. So I think Brolo's in play. I think Hernan Gomez is certainly in play. Here's a name now. We'll go back up and talk about some of the other guys too, but here's a name for you. Kyle O'Quinn. He's 39 on FanDuel. Porzingis is out, which means Hernan Gomez is going to have to start at the 5, which means Kyle O'Quinn's going to have to come off the bench and play a little bit of minutes. What do you think of Kyle O'Quinn here?
I love him when he's getting the minutes or when he's supposed to get the minutes. He's a great point per minute guy. If you look back some of his games, 19 minutes, 18 points, 12 minutes, 21 points, 19 minutes, 20 points, 25, 35 points. So when he gets the minutes, I like him quite a bit. And with the injuries, I'm hoping is so check it out before game time. Do your research, and I definitely like him. He's only 4,200 on FanDuel, which is an extremely low price. So if he's going to get you 20 to 30 points, that's great.
Absolutely. We also got Zaza while we're down there. Zaza's 3,900. Zaza burned me really bad the other day, but you know what? It really wasn't his fault. He didn't get played in the first quarter. He had like 14 DraftKings points. He got a couple steals, rebounds. He was 0 for 5 shooting. They pulled him from the game and never put him back in. They let Draymond play the 5. McGee played backup. What do you think of Zaza at 3,900? Do you like him against Orlando? Is very bad against center. It's just a matter of, I guess, if he's going to play. What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to go back to him. No one's going to be on him now. I played him the other night too. I think I played him and Iguodala, and I didn't play Green, and Green goes for 60. So yeah, I would go back to him. Though he's $100 more than O'Quinn. If we know that we think O'Quinn's getting the minutes, I think I'd maybe prefer for O'Quinn, or
Sure.
maybe go up a little to Steven Adams, who he doesn't have the seal. He doesn't have the ceiling of some of these guys, but at 5,200 can pay off his price on FanDuel. I think he's a possible 30 against Toronto.
That's a great point. As a matter of fact, even for DraftKings, Adams is like 4,700 on DraftKings today. That's a very good call out right there.
All right. What do you think about Tristan Thompson versus Utah? Stay away.
Yeah, I don't like to target guys against Utah, but I
Yeah.
will. I will target LeBron. I will target Kyrie. I will not target a guy that's a low usage guy, especially not against Gobert. He's too good defensively around the rim. Now, I guess there's a possibility. On the other side, didn't you? I think you mentioned Gobert a little bit ago, or at least before the show, you'd mentioned Gobert, and I think you were on to something with Gobert. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Gobert?
Yeah, I like Gobert. In FanDuel, like I said, they're all those guys are the same price. Gobert has that ceiling that uh, I think I do get him right sometimes, but I know a lot of people that don't.
Yeah.
Um, and but he's got that ceiling. We've seen him put up 50 points before, and I'm not too worried about Cleveland's defense against him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's cheap enough. At least on DraftKings, he's 6,800. And I know Cleveland has been a very good rim protecting team all season, except for recently. There have been a couple centers who've been able to take advantage. Now I know Drummond in his last contest didn't fare very well. That wasn't really his fault. His whole team played bad. It wasn't just a bad matchup. But before we saw Drummond go in there and torch him in Detroit. So I think there's a way you can exploit them, especially if you don't want to go with Hayward against LeBron. I think a decent alternative. We know Gobert's usage is bumped without favor. So yeah, I thought you made a great point with Gobert. Are
What do
there
you
any other? Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, what do you think about Dwight Howard going against Gasol?
It's not. They're gonna need him. That's for sure. They're gonna need him. Now, I think Howard could have a difficult time covering him on the perimeter. That's something Howard is not comfortable playing outside of the paint. So I'm a little worried about that. But there's a chance Gasol sits. If Gasol were to sit in this contest, I would be all over Howard, especially at 6,100 on DraftKings. What do you think about Howard?
Yeah, that's interesting. For sure, if he sits, because he's underneath the price of all those guys, he's even 100 less than Lopez on FanDuel. So if Gasol's not playing, I would definitely look to play him for sure and save some money there.
Awesome. And is there anybody else you wanted to mention? We got DeAndre Jordan against Denver. We got Vooch against Golden State. Anybody else worth mentioning?
Yeah, do you think Plumlee's going to get some more run with Gallinari and those guys out? I'm not real sure. Or do we just like the Joker?
It's very interesting because I don't know if he's going to get another 36 minutes like he did against the Lakers, but if he gets 20, which is very feasible, he's shown us that against Sacramento, he got 35 DraftKings points in only 21 minutes. And you know what? They might need him on there. They might. Matter of fact, they'll probably play Plumlee over Juancho Hernan-Gomez for the simple fact that they're going to need somebody to cover Griffin. They can't just put the Joker on Griffin because Joker's going to have to cover DeAndre. So that's a good point. They might have to play Plumlee with the Joker.
Yeah, it's interesting. His last 4 games have been really, really good. I know people have been in and out, but I would take a chance. It's only 5,800 on FanDuel. If you were trying to be different than the rest of the field, maybe, and you got 10 lineups, throw them out there.
You know what? That's a great point, and it's a later game. So this could be one of those calls that could really make or break your night. I mean, that could really win you a GPP because obviously people don't like to play the guys they don't know the news about, the Kings, things. People they're not sure about the news, and we don't know. They could decide to start Juancho, Barton, or Plumlee. One of those 3 guys is going to start. We don't know which one. So if they announce it 5 minutes before lock, and you're quick enough to get that news and react to it and play the right guy, that could win you a tournament, I think.
Yeah, for sure. That's one thing I like playing with mini slates. If you miss on a guy who locks in at Maine and there's news later, well, I'll play him in the 10 o'clock slate and I'll get my exposure.
Absolutely. Anybody else you want to talk about today?
We went through it pretty quick, but I think that's about it. Just keep in mind we do this the night before. Do your research during the day. Watch that value. It can pop up and always be ready to adjust and don't lock yourself in too early.
Absolutely, Steve, definitely. And guys, if you want to know after Fuego does some of his research tomorrow, if you want to know what he's thinking, you want to talk to him, reach out to him, just have a conversation. You could find him on Twitter at Fuego_Steve. He's building the brand. We got to respect that. And Steve, it's always a pleasure to have you on, man. We'll talk. Hopefully, we'll have you on again next week, schedule permitting. I know you got a busy schedule coming up, and you got to get ready for the live final. So, Steve, as always, we appreciate having you on.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. For Fuego Steve, for CK013, it's been real. And as always, good luck.